Yo, Rockstar. How's it going, everyone? Let me go ahead and turn this off. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hey, Rockstar. I got a quote for you today. This one, I remember hearing this on one of those motivational videos on YouTube. But basically, check this out. I have learned that failure is really only God's way of saying, excuse me, but you were moving in the wrong direction. Rockstar, try that thought on for size. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Hey Rockstar. I am your host, Josafat Emiliano. Get ready, because we have a really good show for you today. And Miguel, do the thing, yo.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Hey Rockstar, welcome. This is a show devoted to bringing value to those interested in starting a side hustle or side business. Whether you're looking to be dual vocational, full-time, part-time, or sometime, I bet our stories will entertain you, encourage you, and empower you to become the rock star of your business and industry. Woo! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to episode 97. We have a really good guest today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, you're wondering, what is this? This is Hey Rockstar. We are a storytelling platform. We focus on the stories of leaders and entrepreneurs, and through their stories, we bring the value that you're searching for, especially those of you who are wanting to live your greatest story as a leader and entrepreneur. So come and listen to them. You will be entertained, you will be encouraged, and you will be empowered to go and become the rock star of your industry. Today is another great guest that I got a chance to meet personally first maybe a pair of months ago. Maybe a couple of weeks, no, more than a couple of weeks ago, back in California, back when I went to MC at Tag Talks, and I'm glad that he's able to join us today. So without further ado, let me make sure you're not muted. All right, cool. You're clear to talk. Please help me welcome Dimitri Amos. Dimitri, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thank you so much for having me. So excited, just with us being able to connect. Back, like you said, at the Tag Talk, and now here we are after some time and being able to sit down and do this. It's really exciting for me. I love being able to share, to give, and just got a heart to be able to speak and serve whoever is willing to listen.
Well, on that note, for those of you who are listening live right now, thank you. Those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, if you comment, I will be able to highlight your comment during our conversation. If you have a question or comment that's relevant to our conversation, I will highlight you guys. If not, we'll try to catch them all. So I'm going to take the shades off because I like to see my guest face to face. So that's it for all the announcements. Dimitri, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
I know a little bit, but I got to hear a little bit about your story back in California. But just a refresher, and so we can dig a little deeper because we're here to pull out the value, pull out the life lessons. If you don't mind, bro, just share your story. What is your story?
Man, let's go. How much time we got? Yeah.
I can
You
stream up
know,
to 4 hours.
got you. All right. Well, for me, I grew up born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just like to start there, give a little bit about who I am, where I'm from. I have two siblings, older brother, younger sister, and of course my parents. Everybody lives in Minnesota except for my sister. Moved out to California here now about maybe 16 years ago, and I started as a supervisor for a healthcare company. Did that for a few years and was really young. So I'm just trying to figure out what leadership is about, what management is about. And then they ended up dissolving the company and they closed down certain branches, and mine was one of them. They were like, "Hey, we'd love to keep you on, but you'd have to move to Phoenix." And I'm like, "Nah." I just got married at that time, and it was just like, "No, we're not doing that." So I remember just praying, like, "Lord, I really want to figure out how to be a better leader, how to be a better manager." And, so I'd like to sit under somebody instead of being in that role until I really figure out how I'm supposed to be doing this. So over the course of some years, I sat under really three different managers at that time before I stepped into a leadership role again. And they just taught me so many life lessons. I saw the good, the bad, the ugly from all of them. But if you're able to really recognize that there's good in everything, then you'll be able to mature yourself and move forward and what God has called you to really do. So, fast forwarding, I really spent a lot of time developing my craft. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with the jobs that I had. I just knew I wanted to be a better leader. But what ended up happening was like over time, I'm like sitting at the job, like, man, like I don't really want to do this, like it's a year of doing this, 2 years of doing that, 2 years of doing this, and so on. And I had never really felt like there was real purpose for me there. I know that when I went into any job that I had, I always spent time ministry. I love talking to people, love seeing people win and succeed. But it just didn't make any sense, like what I'm doing with these jobs. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? So I remember one day, it was probably maybe about 5 years ago now, I would say. I was on a call just like this. My pastor was teaching. And as he was teaching, I just started, taking a bunch of notes and really trying to, get what I can because I'm going to try to apply this stuff later on or tomorrow or the next day. And then the Holy Spirit just started unloading stuff on me. So as pastor was speaking, he was giving me very specific words at this time. And I know that everybody has their own experience with Holy Spirit, if they understand what that is. But for me, it was very clear. It was the word obedience came into play, and then accountability came into play, integrity, service, and sacrifice. And long story short, I remember just writing it down. It said Oasis. And it's just like, Oasis, that's interesting. Like, why would he give it to me like that? Why am I seeing these things? But at the end of it, I ended up creating a company called ASO Studios, which stands for Sound Oasis. And it was based off of that information. So, but how it really happened was my wife now, Tanisha, she asked me one simple question. She was like, baby, if there's anything that you could do for the rest of your life, what would you do? And I remember that was hard for me to answer. I had no idea. I didn't know. I was like, I'm not sure. Like that, it really bothered me that I couldn't answer that question. You know what I mean? Like I sat there and really thought about it. But it was just because I let like some dreams die. I wasn't like the best at getting myself together and moving and making sure that like I could keep my feet afloat and for her, she was very strong in that area. So she just started like kindling that flame that was very dormant, and it started making me think. So it started frustrating me because it's like, oh my God, like, oh, okay, yeah, there were some things I wanted to do. So I told her like, yeah, I had an Instagram, and she was like, "Oh, this is really nice. Why haven't you done anything with this?" Like, I don't know. I didn't see any movement, so I just kind of was like, "I'm done." And she was like, "No, like you don't even have hashtags in there. You don't have any of these things, so of course nothing's gonna happen." I was like, "What is a hashtag?" Yeah. I know. What are you talking about?
Is that
Like,
a breakfast?
right? It's gonna be a good one too. Um, But she really helped me to like look at things a little differently. And so we just started writing stuff down. Okay, like what about this? What about that? Well, I had stuff on YouTube. I had videos out there. I've done live streaming for video games on Twitch and, doing those
Mm.
things. And so I built good communities, but I just wasn't sure like if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So as time went on, we were praying over it. And then it just really hit like, why not just do a podcast? Sounds like the right lane for me. I've seen these things before. I feel like I have a lot to say. I don't have to be on camera if I don't want to. And, and at that time I really didn't want to, but it opened up the door. And so the podcast we started was Oasis Lifestyle. And from that point, it was just like I really wanted to help people
Mhm.
with getting them to move into a new place in their life. There's ways to do this that I did it that I was very successful, just being obedient, accountable, walking and serving a servant heart, sacrificing my time and just being a man of integrity. And I started recognizing that when I was doing this, that my passion, which was talking and doing all these things, that created like more purpose for me, right?
Mhm.
So I felt more purposeful in what I was doing. I didn't feel that I was just out here talking. I felt like there was actually a goal in what direction I was going. I didn't understand at that time fully, but I knew that when I did it, how my skin felt, how I felt like it was out of all the jobs I ever did, there's no comparison to any of those things that I did to what I was doing at that time. And so it was like, but God showed me too, son, don't look at those jobs. Those jobs were just as purposeful as what you're doing today.
True.
You needed those in order for what I was trying to get you here. And so I remember it was like, man, that's so awesome. And so from there, I really decided like I want to do that for other people. I'm sure there's so many people out here right now that just have no idea what they're doing. And then so it became helping people find their purpose through their passion. But as I was sharing, recently, it's like God even just defined it more.
Mm.
He brought it in from something that it was like purposeful, but once he starts he just wants to get you on track, make sure you're in alignment, and then he can start moving you the way that he feels he needs to. And so it was like, okay, we're moving in this direction. We have things moving in place. Now the direction of how we're getting there to connect people to their purpose is through building trust and helping them understand their lack of trust that they don't have, because everybody has something that they're passionate about, something that they like, something that they've done for a while, something that has just been like, oh, when you talk about it, you can get them on for an hour, right? But has anyone ever connected that to being maybe purposeful for them? And then people are, what I tend to hear is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure about that. And they never make the moves. But what is stopping them? What's causing that problem where it's like, why aren't you willing to move forward? There's somewhere along the way that I've had to recognize that people are losing trust in themselves or in other people. And so it's being able to help them understand those things, what's causing you to lose trust. And all we're trying to do is to get you simply trust. Simply trust not in me, but in the one who created you. Because there's a purpose and a plan for your life. And we want to help you get there by helping you to build your trust in people, but ultimately in God.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Harping on what you just said right now, not harping, that's a bad word. Um, just to kind of highlight and bring more focus on this, you said that we're trying to figure out why people are losing trust in themselves. Have you been able to discover that, or is it like situational? Is it different for everyone?
Yeah, it's very situational,
Gotcha.
and it's just when you look back at life, it's life circumstances, how you were raised can start that process, from
Yeah.
just a child who got a unlucky break at life where they had family members who were abusive, or physically abusive, or alcoholics, or you were prone to getting into drugs in yourself and it wasn't even your family. So there's so many different things that have created people to lose trust in themselves because they didn't see the results they were looking for. They expected it in their time, and
Mm.
And so, because of it not happening in those moments, people will sometimes tend to shy away because it's like, wait, I know in my head, I'm telling myself, like, I'm going to give my all, right? But their all is only good for 2 weeks. So, but not knowing in the third week is when that wall was starting to come down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's really trying to figure out what stopped them. They never either started or they started and then they gave up somewhere. And if they learn anything about this, it is a process. You sow the seed, you're gonna wait. In the Bible, it talks about seed time and harvest. And so, knowing that that's the case, you're gonna say like, okay, you're gonna plant that seed, but you're gonna also have to wait. And that waiting part is where people start to lose trust because their mind is like, there are bills to pay. Um, my kids are acting up, or I'm acting up too much, and things aren't just moving the way that I need them to. It's just not working. So I would rather go back to my job than to push forward on the business or the work that God has called us to do. So they revert back because it's easier. You got a steady paycheck. You got something that comes in every 2 weeks, every week, every month, whatever the case it is, but that feels more comfortable, right? So my job is to help them feel uncomfortable to create a new level of being comfortable, right? To move them forward, knowing that being uncomfortable has got to be the new comfortable. And so for me, it's like, okay, I see this just through conversations, and people call me all the time. They're just like, man, I'm going through this, dealing with my wife. Like, what do you think, I should do? And of course, I have my ideas, but let's get into the word. Let's take a look and see how this lines up with what you're dealing with
Yeah.
to build that trust again. It's like, okay, I see this. So then we put it into effort. We put that effort into place, and then we just start churning and going and going. Even if you fall, it doesn't mean that you're defeated. It just means you fell. You just get back up. Dust your shoulders off, like Jay-Z said. So, um, and then you just move forward. And so there are definitely a lot of ways that people I've seen lose trust. And but the fun part is helping them gain that trust back again.
No, no, that is beautiful. Especially dealing with my personal journey. You said something that not triggered, but it reminded me of my struggle. Because there was a moment like you where I couldn't easily define my why.
Mhm.
Like even though I've done so many things in ministry, so many opportunities I've had. In my 20s, I spent pretty much traveling the world doing mission work for about 5 6 years, and I have experiences and all this stuff that happened to me, but yet when it came time to focus on me, to give myself
Mhm.
permission, I didn't know
Mhm.
how to do that. I
Right,
really didn't know
right,
how to
right.
finally like, Lord, what was I created to do? I was really good at pleasing others, doing
Mhm.
and I would put it under the minds of, or not the minds, under the guides of well, it's because I'm self-sacrificing for the benefit of others, kind of
Right.
situation.
Mhm.
But and there's other levels, and I'm not gonna dig too much on that one. And it wasn't until almost recently, within the past, how long I've been in Nashville, 9 years. Within 6 or maybe 7 years ago, I remember I was just reading Galatians, just
Mhm.
at a time of my life, and all of a sudden, there it just jumped out at me when the Apostle Paul said, "I cannot be a people pleaser and serve God, because if I'm a people pleaser, I'm worthless." The translation
Mhm.
I was reading said, "I'm worthless to serve God." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? What does that mean?" And I had to
For
I had to refigure it out. Like, wait. So by putting everyone else ahead of me and putting everyone else's need ahead of my need, it's actually hindering me from what God has created me to do, and that sent me on
Mhm.
a whole journey on figuring out, well, then what was I meant to do, God?
Right.
And I believe that what you said about a lot of the times we need to, how did you say it? Well, the way I word it is, you got to understand your author
Mhm.
and maker and have
Mhm.
that relationship, because that's where your purpose can start to shine, and you
Right.
kind of start seeing, oh, I was made for this.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
going towards this end. Uh,
Mhm. No,
you're
that's
gonna have to
good
stop me,
stuff.
Dimitri, because I can get on here and I can preach and I can go on,
Same here, man.
because I've done the homework. Especially and I think I shared this with you. If not, I did share it with someone else about praise and worship.
Mhm.
Did I share that with you back in California?
I don't recall.
No
I know we
worries.
talked about a few things, but
We talked. Yeah, we did. But basically, and maybe once I say this, it'll remind you. But it was in that's what I define myself as, a worshiper. For the longest times, I would play music and I would lead worship in English and Spanish, internationally, all that fun stuff, amongst other things of ministry. But it was later on, after I was no longer practicing, when I came back to Nashville, I was in Music City, dude, and I was not doing anything musically at my church because I was burnt out. I even told my
right.
pastor, I will serve, but I don't want to serve. I don't want to speak. I don't want to preach. I don't want to sing. I'll serve in the shadows. And I did. I grew in the production and I helped so much. But it was during this time of resting where I really understood what praise and worship was. To me, everything, fast songs, slow songs, it's all praise. What we say, what we do, the physical, what we shout, what we provide, what we prepare, everything we do, preaching, giving, it's all praise. It's all praise. And I add that really praise does nothing for God because He doesn't have an ego that we need to serve, or to an itch that He needs scratching, but
Right.
it serves to remind us of His goodness,
Hmm.
and to keep us, to grow our faith in Him and expectancy, and prepare the atmosphere for God to do amazing things. So worship, though. So if
Yes.
everything we do is praise, then what is worship? And I remember learning this, that worship is simply obedience. But then I added this: obedience to the nature which you were created for.
Right. That's good.
When you learn what you were created for, what were you were fearfully and wonderfully made for, and you start working and walking in that truth, in
Hmm.
that nature,
Hmm.
you are worshiping Him in spirit and in truth.
Right. Right.
And then
And
you are walking in the desires of His heart, and then that's when He starts opening up the doors, because you are now
mm,
in tune with that. So that's woo, we could go off on that
bro,
when
come
it comes to
on, man.
purpose, especially purpose when you're spirit led purpose, which we could go. Anyway, I just had to throw that one
So
in there.
good. I love it. I love that. I mean, you're right though. It's just that obedience. When you're walking in obedience, when it comes to the ways of God, there is no way that you can't walk in your purpose. It's how's it if you're being obedient and you're doing what he's asking you to do, he is going to align you with your purpose. It's just going to happen. It's like it kind of goes hand in hand on this,
Yeah.
you know, like you see you're talking about. So, and that's what the beautiful part is learning how to, you know, again, you're serving, you're out there just giving your whole heart, but and there was burnout, you know,
Yeah.
because it was different. You liked and enjoyed those things, passionate about it, and people have passions, but it's not always purpose. You know what I mean? So it's like you get in, you serve, you bust your butt, you're enjoying every moment of it. It's good, but then you get tired, and even in your purpose, you might get tired, but at the same time, it's a difference when that does happen because you know, like it don't matter because when you see someone, you could be half sleep, you know, and then you hear someone say something and it triggers you and it wakes you up. And before you know it, now you're awake for the next 5 hours talking when you were about to fall asleep, you know. So, and I
What
know
did
that
Jesus
happens
say?
for
He said, "My food is doing the will of the Father."
mm,
Like, whenever when the his disciples came up to him and like, "Hey, Master, you need to eat," and he goes, "I've already have eaten." He goes, and like, "Who brought him food?" He's like, "No, my
right.
food is doing the will of the Father." And it
Mm-hmm.
is. There's that supernatural, like, just feeding of your spirit when you're like, I am in my design purpose. I am walking in obedience.
Mm,
People's lives are being changed and impacted, and I'm giving glory to my Creator because
right.
I'm running the way I'm supposed to run. I'm running
Right.
my race.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's
Come on, man.
it's one of those mysteries.
It is.
Mysteries.
It
But
is.
enough
And
about me. Let's go back to you, your
got you. Got
story.
you. Come on.
So, um, so you started deciding working on and it's called Simply Trust, correct?
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, do you mind just telling us a little bit more about what this is, what you provide, what exactly is Simply Trust?
Yeah, so Simply Trust is literally helping men and women deal with trust issues.
Mm,
That's as simple as it gets. And the reason why is because um, there are trust issues that they have in themselves, and there are trust issues that they have in other people. and we want to be able to help them overcome those areas. It doesn't always mean that you're going to just go put your whole heart into someone who you know has been cheating on you,
Yeah.
your whole life, and now you're going to trust them again with that relationship. But it's just for the fact of knowing that there are other people out there that you may have turned away, that because you didn't trust, because you saw something that looked similar to what someone else did, and so now you are running from those people anytime it looks like that. Now you can't pull the trigger. And so we want to really help people understand, like, you got to learn how to let those things go, because God has so much more in store for you. And if you keep focusing on the wrong people, so it's like, if you really understand what trust is, it starts with God. Because if you learn how to trust Him, then trusting people becomes a little bit easier. Doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly, right? That's the thing, but it helps to help you move forward. So me and my wife, we've been working on, and we don't have it together right now because like I said, we made this shift, and so everything's blooming. But we're creating courses online so that people can find any topic that they're dealing with when it comes to trust issues for themselves or other people, and we're literally trying to just completely take over that market, because there's not a lot of stuff out there right now that people are talking about when it comes to trust issues. And there's faith, there's different kinds of things that people are focused on, but it's not a lot of trust. And right now in America and over the seas, from wherever to wherever, you watch and turn on the TV, and it's like, you don't trust the media anymore. You don't trust the next door neighbor anymore. You don't trust your boss. You don't trust this person. You don't trust that person. You don't. Somewhere along the way, it's got to stop. Somewhere along the way, it has to stop. And that's my desire, is to connect people, to help them through these areas in their life, because sometimes they don't know how. Sometimes they think that they know, but they just create more damage. And so, with all of that, because of what I've been through in my life and all the stuff that I had to overcome myself dealing with trust issues, because I was married once before, and unfortunately got divorced, and it was in the worst possible way. So I didn't trust a man, I didn't trust a woman, and I kept to myself like a hermit crab for literally 2 years. But as time went on, God spoke to me, and I remember laying in my bed. It was like a month of just like crying, crying and crying. And I heard it as clear as day. And God, He's so loving, and He'll love you in such a way that makes you think like you're right. It doesn't always come like where it's just like sunshines and rainbows, but He's soft in His approach. So I remember Him saying like, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying for it? You know who I am, but there are all these people who are out there who don't know who I am. You know I'm going to heal you. You know I'm going to take care of you. You know I'm going to cover you, but I can't use you if you're acting like this. So when are you going to stop crying?" And I remember just snapping out of it, almost like, wow, I've wasted a whole month because me, 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 right? Because I'm focusing on trying to protect myself now, when He's my protector.
Yeah.
He's my Jehovah Jireh, my provider. He's the one who's going to heal me, So, but I keep focusing on me. I'm trying to create this life that I got to fix something. I got to do this. I got to do that. And He was like, no, no, no. You're going about this the wrong way, and you're focusing on the wrong stuff. If it's like, actually, when you put yourself out there, is when things start to change. So when you start ministering to the people that I've called you to, just wait. You're going to see what's going to happen, and but I need you in your right state of mind. So I had to trust Him. I had to believe what He said, and that was very difficult in a time like that. It was like I said, infidelity happens, and
Yeah.
you don't expect it to happen to you, right? But it does. Like, it can be very devastating. That's why it talks about in the Bible about these moments taking place, and like, that's like the only opportunity you get to kind of step away from a relationship, But in this, so I remember spending time ministering to a guy that just came into my life at that time. He was put in there. God knows what He's doing. And because of that ministry, he was dealing with stuff in his life. And I watched him just start to change. You know, the more and more I pressed into him, the more and more I started to see his life change. And it kept my focus off of my past,
Mm.
right? Because I wasn't worried about Dimitri no more. I'm focusing on the people. So I started learning, okay, this is the trust he wants me to have. Is you can worry about yourself. It's okay to, go get a massage or something like that.
For sure.
But there are the people who really don't know who I am. I
Yeah.
need you to show them how to do this. So from there, the trust part really, and through all my life, I've just had to really build trust. And so I can speak on these things because I've been through it. I've been through some of the worst ways. I've watched what happened when I did put my trust in him, not just in that one situation, but when it came to, my 39 years of living, of course, not as a baby, but at the age of understanding to now, I've had to trust him in everything that I do, and with the business and things like this, like it's his business. And if people look at it as theirs, you're gonna end up hurting yourself. But if you look at it as his, then you gotta understand that he's going to do what he said he was going to do. So just keep moving forward. So
Rock star gold right there. That is
sir.
good. Well, thank you for defining trust issues because in the past I've heard, oh man, that person has trust issues, whatever, or whatever, and I never really kind of got it. I understood it, I guess, but like, thank you for defining for those of us who might have need a little understanding. Like that's a good place to start. And I was kind of was gonna ask you because maybe I've heard a different way. Could that also be, and correct me if I'm wrong, could that also be tied to limiting beliefs?
Yes, I believe it definitely is that because um what you believe is going to
Mm,
either tell you where you're going to go or where you're going to stay. And if you don't believe enough in yourself or don't trust the people that God's put in front of you, um, you might handicap yourself very quickly. And and then the question is why? What is the belief that you don't have? What is it that's missing? That is it just not really understanding more about who God is? Is it not understanding and believing? Because again, you've seen too many other people get hurt, and you're just like, I don't believe that. I don't trust it anymore. Because it's the fact that sometimes people live through other people, and so belief has uh, a huge part of this as well. So it's like me, I have to believe that God tells me to go some direction, and it may not look like I said, the sunshine and rainbows, but it's a dark valley. We've heard this, yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and so, but you have to believe that there's something on the other side of that, not just what you're walking through, because you're going to walk through something. You ain't gonna come out this thing clean. Your armor is gonna get a little dirty, and it's gonna have some bangs and stains in it and whatever. But that's purposeful, And so as you go through the thing, that's where you start to see, oh, wait, there's light at the end of this tunnel. There's something else on the other side of this thing. But people stop right here. They will not move forward because of their belief. It's like, again, there's a lion outside, right? So then you don't go do nothing. Like, no. Do you believe that you're capable of defeating a lion? Have you ever seen a lion before? Yeah. Well, hey, Daniel was in the lion's den. They didn't eat him. Like they had every opportunity. It was hungry. But again, he believed in God, and he believed in that because it was such a strong conviction, that he had. And so um, that's got to be strong for people. And I wanted to mention as well too is the blessing, with all this is every area that we have for our courses is very specific. So um, we have courses on divorce, and it's not just like divorce, like you are being there's a talk of divorce, or you have been divorced. So we have areas on that. We have uh, learning how to trust children and how to have your children trust you. When you're in leadership, how to trust management, how to trust your coworkers, how to do the same thing. So we have found many different ways to topic this because we've
Gotcha.
done it. We've done so many different things, and God just continues to expand. And so as we sat down, it just in like, me and my wife over the course of like a few hours, it was 16 different shells of topics that we can cover. And that's not even just, it's just the shells to hold divorce. Okay, here's divorce, but here's all these subtopics under divorce. And so at the end of it, at the way it's being set up right now, what we're doing, we're hoping to have at least 400 different courses that
Wow.
people can go and learn and study. So they have like archive and they can go through and just and really take this information and figure out what best suits them, how it works for them, and how it can be a blessing to someone else who they might know is dealing with these issues. So it doesn't have to just be for them. It could be for other people. Man, they're dealing with this too. I'm trying to tell them, like, but I don't know how to tell them this. And so, hey, we have that course probably for you in there. Just scroll on and look and see, like, oh, yeah, I have divorce, divorcing a 30-year-old. Got it. Oh, cool. That's helpful to understand. So we want to make it as detailed as possible so that everyone has a home. There's something they can take away. It may not be all the stuff, but it could be just one area that was impactful for them. That's all they needed to move them in the right track towards their purpose.
Gotcha. No, that's great to know that you have such a vast library of resources, uh, where people, whatever area they need help in, especially in trust, in
Mm,
learning to trust again. I keep
yeah.
thinking of the song from Foo Fighters, "Learning to Walk Again." I don't know why it's came
Bro,
learning
you
to
like
trust
music,
again,
man.
but anyway, my mind goes off that. It's random. But
So,
going back to the original questions I gave you, just now about your process as an entrepreneur, as a business person, owner. Um, were there any challenges when you decided this is the area you wanted to go to? Were there any things that you had to learn or relearn, or practices that you had to figure out?
yeah. The one thing I had to learn was it's going to take a lot of time. Like the first part for me, it was almost like it was a false thought, and I thought this was going to be like the thing. So I created the LLC, back some time ago, and at the time I created the LLC, I thought like half the job was done. Like cool. Now we can just move forward. We can do stuff. We can just start getting out there. It's like, no, 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 no. Hold up a second. Like, there's more to this. The LLC is literally like a fraction. This is just the beginning of what you're going to do now. It comes down to what is your vision and mission statements for what you're trying to accomplish. What is your target audience? What is your niche? How are you going to like line that up to? And these are things I never had concepts of. I worked at a job and I did my job very well. Wherever I went to work at a job, I was management for years because I knew what I was doing. But now stepping in outside of that, it was different for me. Like my mind didn't connect correctly with these things, and so it was very frustrating for me because it was just a lot of layers that I didn't know. So like laying out all these different processes on Instagram for colors to hashtags to how long the video is supposed to be, and it was just like this is a lot. But if you're trying to connect with people, you have to understand that all of these things are extremely important. So I didn't know, but as I went through my hurts and pains because my wife, she started a business a while back. So she already kind of knew the process. And my wife, she's very, very driven. And I wasn't like that. I was good at my job, got my steady check, but now stepping into a place of like learning all these things, she was just on me, like, baby, like, look at this. You got to think about that here. What about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And it was just like, Father, help me. You know what I mean, man? But so the biggest challenge, like I said, for me was just really understanding how much time it takes to really create a good foundation. It's not something you can just rush. If you try to, of course, and think about it in real life, you building a high skyscraper, that foundation is going to be a lot deeper and it's going to have a lot more reinforcement in there. Otherwise, that building is going to topple in just a matter of time. So based off of the purpose that we have, this reinforcement, this foundation has been there's been a lot to build just to start building upon that. But I didn't know. But now it's like, okay, we went through it and there's still more we're going through. But this is a part of the process. You just got to understand things take time. And if you don't see something that happens overnight, don't worry about it. Like, just keep moving forward. Just keep pushing, and don't stop. And so that's been the biggest adjustment for me.
What I'm hearing is persistence and patience as
Yes.
you perform. Three
Ooh,
P's right there.
I like that. I like that. Good.
Oh no, I know, and yes, you're right up the same alley. Anytime you're trying something new, I mean, most people who start businesses don't know what they're doing. Most of my guests have always said that's been the main thing: mindset, determination, and just that will actually, that test of time will determine whether this really was going to be a commitment or was just going to be an interest,
There
a
you go.
temporary interest. and
That's the
and also
truth.
one thing I've learned as a entrepreneur is, um, what was the stats? I think they've gone up now, but it used to be about 85%, possibly now 90% of first time business startups don't make it to a year.
Hmm.
And one of the things as a speaker, I would focus and tell people not to focus, or don't identify yourself with the failure
Hmm.
of the business,
Right.
simply because a lot of people, that's their baby. They
Right.
identify it's their first business, my mom and pop shop, whatever. And if it fails, it, move forward, move forward. Don't identify with that failure,
Right.
because a lot of people don't know how to move forward from that. Or a lot of people who have had careers that have abruptly ended,
Hmm.
they they need to learn how to detach from that.
Right.
And the best way is to connect with that
There you go.
creator.
Right.
But no, well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for bringing that for those who are interested in becoming some kind of coach, or someone who wants to be in service and helping others. You got to understand, um, first of all, follow your heart, follow your call,
Right.
but be patient with yourself. And there's a lot of little things, and you don't have to know it all.
Hmm.
My mentors are, you just got to be
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks ahead of the person they're
There you
teaching
go.
as
Right.
you're growing and moving forward with that, as you're building programs. Although I applaud you guys for having so many things out there. What was the other question? I don't have my list right here, just more off the top of my head. And this is just to pull more value. What have been some valuable lessons or like aha moments that you can think of off the top of your head while you've been on this journey?
Um, the aha moments I would say is like one. Yeah, that's a very good question. I like that question because I've had to go through a lot of stuff um, to recognize like how big this is going to be. And there was a point for me where the content that we were putting out, I was sure in what we were doing, but I just didn't know how people were really receiving it.
Mm,
And then as time went on, like I just started questioning, right? Like, Lord, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this kind of how I'm supposed to, how we've all had those moments where it's just like, why are you questioning me for, And and then so I started hearing from people more and more, just like, yeah, like this is good. We need this. And there's not a lot out there. Uh, and there was one day where someone had mentioned something to me in a DM, and it just hit me. They were like, they don't know who I am. They have no idea who I am, but they were just sharing with me like what this means to them and how it's going to impact so many people. And I just remember being like, looking back at everything I did, is like, okay, okay. All right. So I know there's a gift here. I didn't really understand how big the gift was that God has given me. And it was just one person. My wife has been there to encourage me. I got homies who've been real close that are always trying to uplift you. But when it's someone random that says something, speaks something into your life, that doesn't even know anything about you, has no idea what like, and says that, it's like, okay, Lord, you send the simple, like as simple as it gets, and to the point where it didn't create like a big head moment for me. It was just like, yeah, this is it. This makes complete sense where we're at right now. And it just snapped. And so from there, it was like, all right, all in. There's nothing left to worry about. There's nothing left to focus on. There's nothing left to look back at. The only way I'm looking back is if it's helping someone for their future. And, and so was that moment for me of just being like, all right, Lord, thank you for sending uh, this person randomly to help me to connect with that because I really needed it. It's like to stay focused, you know. So that was it, and that changed pretty much the trajectory for me.
No turning back. No turning back.
Yeah,
Are you familiar
man.
with Myron Golden?
Oh, yes, sir,
All
I
right.
am.
I love one thing he says. He's like, don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the bad or the past unless you are problem solving. And I love that.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
the only time we even look back.
it's
Where you
true.
are.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I learned about him some years ago, and I'd say uh, maybe six years ago. I remember when he had the old school whiteboard that he would do on YouTube,
Yes.
and it was just him writing it out. Now he's got the new TV that's got everything. It's like, dang, that's nice, man. But just a lot of good concepts, and to that point, it's the truth. You really looking back at anything. Um, is only good if you have a plan and how it's going to benefit someone else for success. Any other time, you already know it's not going to do anything. You remember, wife, when last week when I told you, no, hold on a second, hold up, don't use that. It's not going to be helpful. Ephesians 4:29, letting the corrupt communication proceed out your mouth. But anyways, yeah, definitely a
That's
good
awesome.
speaker. I've listened to a lot of his stuff. Very, very smart, full of
Okay,
wisdom.
cool. I guess I could have used one of his quotes. I have a lot of his quotes in my list of quotes that I collect to share
Mhm.
for my show.
Yeah,
But no, just the one I read today felt like the best one
I liked
for
it.
this time, for this
That was
season.
it.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's prophetic. I don't know, but it's just good stuff. But let's
Yeah.
move on. I guess one of the questions are now. Well, let me go and I asked this. This wasn't a question I asked you to ahead of time, but if anyone wanted to find out more about you or they would like to connect, what would be the best way for them to connect with you and seek
Uh,
your trust?
yeah. The best way for right now is through my Instagram. That's where I am most active at the moment as we're transitioning, and that is through oasis.life.style. So, um, and very simple, but that's where they would reach me the best. I respond to a lot of
Perfect.
messages on there and so on.
Um, yeah, the Hey Rockstar Instagram is I only follow guests who have been on my show for that
Okay.
reason. So people like, hey, want to know about this guest? We'll go to the list and you'll see the people who've been on my show and you can find them easier that way. Of course, on my personal one, I follow everyone back,
Right.
but unless you're a guest, Hey Rockstar will not follow you back.
I
Other than
get it,
that,
man.
what are big goals? What are things you're looking forward to in the future for your business, my man?
Really, it's being able to get out and have more opportunities to um, speak to the masses. I see myself um, on stages. As you know, we were doing the tag talk, but that was like a stepping stone because I know that God's message for me is greater than the place we were at. It's not going to be able to hold enough people. And so for us, the future is just being able to see people build the people up so they can build up other people. Like we want to be able to see lines of people who are like, yo, I heard what you said. I applied it to my life and I've gotten other people to start doing those things as well. Because that's what it's about. It's not just holding the information for yourself.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's like once you get saved, you just go to heaven, right? But there's work here to do.
yeah,
So it's being able to how do we take this information and be able to encourage the people that are getting the information from us to draw other people to do the same thing too in their own way. Uh, and so from there, it's not just doing it here in the Americas, but it's really having an international mindset to reach people. So this is, again, like this shirt here, the impact maker.
yeah. I was
Uh,
looking at that shirt.
yeah, I know you know it. um, but it's really having the desire to not just reach here in California, not just to reach North America, but the desire is to see people in completely different countries come to realize that we all have trust issues, but they all can be solved through the one who created us. And so, however we go about that, God is still defining that road, but this is the long term plan for us. The short term is getting the website up so people can get their courses together and start studying. And then being able, of course, we have the coaching program as well too, so that we can sit down and meet with them and talk with them and answer their questions that they have, and just being a light in the darkness.
That's some good stuff. Thank you for sharing all that. And yes, I absolutely agree with him. It's about going worldwide because this world is a lot smaller. Actually, I like to say no, we just get around. But it's just we're so connected because of technology, which can be a blessing, but it can also be an excuse. You know, we're like, well, I don't need to go out there and connect with anyone. I don't need to learn to trust anyone if I have everyone just within the
Right.
screen. But we are not meant to do life alone. We are meant to be in community. We are meant to be social creatures.
Right.
And so that's why we want you to have that confidence to go out there and be the best version of yourself, to be who you're intended to be the your natural self. And
Yes.
that natural self, like Raul, the guy you got to meet, I love what he says. He's like, your wisdom is not common knowledge. Your fruit is not meant for you, it's meant for others. You are the vine and the fruit is for others. So go out there and if you need help with any of this that we're doing, if you need help with just finding purpose in your passion, but most
Mhm.
importantly, overcoming trust issues, man or women, please reach out to it's oasis.life.style
Yes. Yes.
on
Please.
Instagram. I'll
On
go ahead and
Instagram.
I think I have it on the description, or at least on the Instagram. I might have to go
Yeah.
back and put it on the Facebook and such. But ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and be sure to, if you need any help with that, go with that. And if you are a storyteller, you want help, especially if you're a single man of faith and you are lacking or you are struggling to find your power, find your purpose, I am building the community just for you. So
Mm.
reach out to me. I'm about to launch this community, a place where
Yes.
you can find other like-minded individuals to help do this life as a single, because singleness is not a mistake, it's not a waiting room, it's a season that you can use to grow, to become the best version of yourself. So please reach out. Before we log off, Dimitri, any last thoughts you'd like to just share with us?
Yeah. Just know that whatever you're doing now, really look and see how much you enjoy what you do.
Mm,
Because if you really enjoy that, why not try to seek after why that is something that you enjoy? Everybody has something different that they really like, that just ministers to their heart differently. But the way they connect with it is just, but if you're just sitting there not doing anything with it, I'd really encourage you to try and figure out what is causing you to stay where you're at. God has a plan for you. He always has. He had a plan for you before you were born. Before
mm,
you were in your mother's womb, he had a plan
yes.
for you. So now is trying to figure out how that plan aligns with the passions and the desires that you have. Because you could be sitting on gold right now. You could be sitting on people's lives being changed. You could be sitting on anything of your dreams and desires. But if you don't do anything with it, then we'll never know what you were created for. I'll never know what God had for you to impact my life. You could be that person who's the next billionaire with a billionaire idea, but just won't move on it. So I'd encourage you to really take that time and figure out what this means for you, because it's probably greater, and it will be greater than you could ever think or imagine, as long as you're focusing on God and having Him in your life and you being trustful of what He has to say versus what anyone else has to say. So that's my last spiel.
Love it.
Just keep on pushing, because it's a journey, and that's the part that we have to remind ourselves of. It is a journey, and eventually we get to the destination, but that's when we're back with Him.
I love it. I love it. Rockstar, you've been called out. If you
Yes.
got it, it's time to let it out. It's time to share it. It's time to bring it out. And on that note, we want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for coming and listening to Hey Rockstar. I'm your host, Josafat Emiliano, all the way from my studio here in Andrews, America. And I want to thank Dimitri Amos, my guest from Northern California, who is coming to us today to share his heart, to share his story, to share his life lessons, and now to share his call to you to come out and become, I like to say, the rock star of your industry. Share your fruit, share your story. Don't worry about failures. Don't worry about trust. If you have trust issues, we now know where to go to help resolve those so you can find the power you need to go out there and tell your story. So until next time, we just wanted to wish you all much love
Yes.
and many blessings. We'll catch you next time.